Here's today's Money Metals Minute, brought to you by MoneyMetals.com. Precious metals markets might be are they about to break out or break down? Well, we saw hints of an upside breakout earlier this week. Both gold and silver pushed to new closing highs for the year Tuesday. But the move not accompanied by a huge surge in buying. Prices backed off a bit on Wednesday and Thursday. Market technicians will be eyeing today's closing prices to see if gold and silver can put in new weekly highs for the year. Strong finishes to close out the week would suggest upside momentum heading into next week. Now here's a special report from Mike Gleason at Money Metals Exchange.
It is my privilege now to welcome in Michael Rivero, founder and editor of WhatReallyHappens.com. Michael is a prolific commentator on geopolitics, financial markets, and many other topics. Also hosts a daily radio show where he comments about it all. One story that's come out just recently is how the U.S. has suddenly been importing a huge amount of gold from Switzerland, which is where a lot of the world's refining is done. Are the tables turning here, and are investors in the West starting to wise up and try to get back some of that gold that's been flowing to Asia at massive levels over the last few years? Any theories there as to why we've gone from being a net exporter of gold to a net importer, at least in the recent months?
Well, there's a couple of overlapping factors. Demand for gold as a preserver of wealth is up all around the globe. China is one of the world's largest producers of gold, but there's so much domestic demand for gold in China, they're actually starting to import gold from Russia. And so, yeah, bullion dealers, coin dealers are trying to get hold of physical metal to meet their demand. The other factor could very well be that the Federal Reserve in New York and J.P. Morgan and these other bullion storage vaults, they got caught playing fast and loose with other people's gold. The German demand for repatriation kind of triggered it. And we actually covered this a lot in an episode of History Channel, America's Book of Secrets, The Gold Conspiracy, in which the New York Federal Reserve was taking other people's gold to store for a fee, like a safety deposit box. Then they were turning around and taking that gold and leasing it out the back door. And then they got caught because they couldn't get it back. And that's what led to that big stink about Germany only getting a tiny fraction of their gold back. It wasn't the original numbered and hallmarked bars, and assays showed it wasn't even anywhere near as pure. And so rather than risk a gold run, I'm certain that the New York Fed and J.P. Morgan and the U.S. government as a whole are trying to get their hands on as much gold as they can to reassure the rest of the world that the gold they place for safekeeping in these various vaults is in fact still there. So that's another overlapping factor.
After the big rally in conventional stocks since the first couple of days of Brexit, the metals have continued to show strength and resilience despite the risk-on trade reasserting itself, and even after the huge gains the metals had in the first half of 2016. Do you have any predictions on what we'll see in the gold and silver markets later this year and into next with the election and other various geopolitical events?
Well, ignore the day-to-day ups and downs because there's a lot of rigging going on, and the public is now aware of that, which is why they're losing confidence in those paper products. But always in the long term, metals are going to improve in value. One of the problems that the paper money is dealing with, it's estimated now that global quantitative easing is now running $180 billion per month, and that kind of inflationary pressure is going to have to push the value of the paper currencies down, and as a result, gold and silver and other metals like platinum inevitably are going to rise. So in the long term, having gold and silver is always a good idea. And even if you're not making a huge profit with gold and silver, at least it is a reliable store of wealth under your own control. All of the paper products are always dependent on your money being in somebody else's computer where they can grab it and play with it. And it could literally vanish overnight. So a lot of people, they've lost trust and faith, both in the corporate financial world, because of all these scandals of rigging, HSBC tangled up with drug running, that they want something that is trustworthy, and most people instinctively trust something that they can hold in their hands.
And that was a special report. Michael Rivero of WhatReallyHappened.com and Mike Gleason at MoneyMetals.com. Live prices at MoneyMetals.com show gold trading at $1,363 per ounce. Silver is down slightly at $20.33.